Oh look, Ashley's still playing shop owner. My brother Michael's voice dripped with condescension as he addressed our gathered family at the annual reunion. Everyone turned to stare at me, some with pity, others with barely concealed amusement. I stood in the corner of our parents' expansive living room, clutching my wine glass like a shield. 5 years ago, I'd left my corporate job to start my own business. A small consulting firm specializing in sustainable supply chain solutions. To my family of corporate executives and investment bankers, this made me the black sheep, the failure, the cautionary tale. How's that tiny office downtown? Michael continued, straightening his Rolex with practiced casualness. Still sharing space with that massage parlor? Laughter rippled through the room. I took a slow sip of wine, remembering the email I'd received just that morning. A major contract opportunity that would change everything. But they didn't need to know that. Not yet. The massage parlor moved out last month, I replied calmly. Now it's a psychic reader. Much quieter neighbors. More laughter, but this time with an edge of cruelty. My mother shifted uncomfortably on her designer sofa, while my father pretended to be deeply interested in his scotch. They'd never approved of my decision to go solo, had called it a phase that would end once I came to my senses. Well, my sister-in-law Amanda chimed in, her voice sweet with fake concern, there's always a position at Michael's company if you want to work for a real business. Michael nodded magnanimously. Entry level, of course. But it's better than whatever you're doing now. I thought about my office. Not the shabby downtown space they imagined, but my actual headquarters in a renovated industrial building. 3 floors of open-plan innovation with a team of 30 brilliant minds working on revolutionizing how companies handle their supply chains. I'm good, thanks, I said, setting down my empty glass. But I appreciate the offer. Your loss, Michael shrugged. While you're playing with your little consultation business, I just closed the biggest deal of my career. The Morton Group is going green, and guess who's handling their entire supply chain transition? I froze. The Morton Group. The email from this morning suddenly felt heavy in my inbox. Congratulations, I managed, keeping my voice steady. That's quite an achievement. $10 million contract, he boasted, pulling Amanda closer. We're thinking of buying that vacation house in Aspen. You should visit, if you can afford the flight. Our cousin Peter raised his glass. To Michael and his success. Everyone cheered. I slipped out quietly, unnoticed as usual. In my car, I finally allowed myself to smile as I pulled up the email on my phone. Dear Ms. Ashley Carter. Following our preliminary discussions, the Morton Group is impressed with your innovative approach to sustainable supply chain management. Your proposal for AI-driven optimization and zero-waste implementation is exactly what we're looking for. We'd like to move forward with the primary contract. I started my car thinking about Michael's smug face. He had no idea that his biggest deal was about to implode. The Morton Group had already decided his company's approach was too traditional, too slow to adapt. They'd been secretly meeting with my firm for months. The next morning, I sat in my actual office, a corner suite with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. Sarah, my operations director, walked in with our morning briefing. The Morton Group's legal team sent over the final contract, she said, placing a thick document on my desk. $20 million with an option to extend to 30 if the initial implementation exceeds expectations. I ran my fingers over the contract. Double what Michael had claimed with potential for triple. Also, Sarah continued, a slight smile playing on her lips, your brother's company has been trying to reach you all morning. Apparently, the Morton Group just informed them they're going in a different direction. I leaned back in my chair, remembering all the family dinners where Michael had mocked my dreams, all the reunions where my parents had avoided discussing my career. Mr. Wilson from Morton specifically requested you handle the press announcement, Sarah added. He thinks it'll make quite a splash in the industry. I'm sure it will, I murmured, imagining Michael's face when he realized who had stolen his biggest deal. My phone buzzed. Michael's number. I let it go to voicemail, then played it on speaker. Ashley, what the hell? The Morton Group just mentioned your company. This has to be a mistake. Call me back immediately. Sarah raised an eyebrow. Should I set up a meeting? I thought about it for a moment. No, I said finally. Let's have him come to us. Something tells me he'll figure out where to find me soon enough. The next morning I arrived at my office earlier than usual. The sun was barely peeking over the city skyline when Michael's frantic call came through to reception. "Miss Carter, your brother is in the lobby," my security guard announced through the intercom. "He's quite insistent about seeing you." I glanced at my designer watch, the one I'd bought myself after landing my first major contract. "Send him up." Michael's jaw dropped as the elevator doors opened to our main floor. Gone was the cramped office he'd imagined. Instead, he faced an ultra-modern space with glass walls, state-of-the-art technology, and dozens of professionals bustling about their morning routines. "Impossible," he muttered, watching a holographic display of our global supply chain network floating in our central meeting area. "Good morning, Michael," I called out, enjoying his stunned expression. "Welcome to my little shop." He spun around, taking in my tailored suit and confident stance. When did you?" "Follow me," I said, leading him to my office. "I believe we have some things to discuss." Once inside, Michael seemed to recover some of his usual arrogance. "Look, there has to be some mistake. The Morton Group is my client. I've been working on this deal for months." I sat down behind my desk, gesturing for him to take a seat. "Actually, they've been my client for the past year. We've been developing this sustainable supply chain solution specifically for their needs." "That's impossible," he sputtered. "I would have known." "Would you?" I pulled up our project timeline on my tablet. "While you were pitching them traditional solutions, we were revolutionizing their entire approach. AI-driven optimization, real-time carbon footprint tracking, blockchain verification for sustainable sourcing." But you're just a small consulting firm." I smiled, turning my tablet to show him our company portfolio. "Annual revenue, $50 million. Clients in 14 countries. 3 patents pending on our proprietary software. Does that sound small to you?" Michael slumped in his chair, his world visibly crumbling. "Why didn't you say anything at the reunion?" "Why should I?" I leaned forward. "You've spent years mocking my choices, belittling my dreams. You and the rest of the family were so convinced I was failing, you never bothered to actually look at what I was building." A knock at my door interrupted us. Sarah entered, carrying a stack of documents. "The Morton Group press release is ready for your approval. And Mr. Wilson is on line 1. He'd like to discuss expanding the contract to their Asian markets." Michael's face went pale. "Asian markets? But that's where my company was planning to expand?" I finished for him. "Yes, I know. The Morton Group mentioned your proposal. They found it, how did they put it, Sarah? Outdated and inefficient," she supplied helpfully. I picked up the phone. "Thank you, Sarah. That will be all." As she left, I turned my attention back to Michael. "Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a call to take." He stood up shakily but paused at the door. "The family reunion next month. What are you going to tell everyone?" I smiled. "I won't have to. The press release goes out this afternoon. I'm sure Mom and Dad won't miss the headlines. Local innovation firm secures landmark $30 million contract with Morton Group. Your name might even get a mention as the company that lost the bid." As the door closed behind him, I allowed myself a moment of satisfaction before answering the call. "Mr. Wilson." "Yes, I was just reviewing the Asia expansion proposal." By afternoon, my phone was flooded with messages. First came the industry congratulations, then the family texts started pouring in. Mom and Dad's message was particularly interesting. "We need to talk. Dinner tonight." I stared at their text, thinking about all the family dinners I'd endured, all the subtle jabs and not-so-subtle suggestions that I was wasting my potential. Now they wanted to talk? I chose an upscale restaurant for dinner with my parents. The kind of place they used to take Michael to celebrate his achievements. As I walked in, I saw them already seated, my mother nervously adjusting her pearl necklace, my father studying the wine list with unusual intensity. Ashley, Mom stood up, awkwardly hovering between a hug and a formal greeting. I chose to sit down directly, maintaining the professional distance they'd created over the years. "The Morton Group," Dad cleared his throat. "That's quite an achievement." "It is," I agreed, ordering a bottle of the restaurant's most expensive wine. "Though I'm surprised you're interested. Last month you said my business was cute." Mom at least had the grace to look embarrassed. "Honey, we didn't know." That's exactly the problem, I interrupted. You never asked. Never visited my office. Never showed any interest in what I was building. You were too busy celebrating Michael's mediocre achievements to notice I was revolutionizing an entire industry. The waiter arrived with the wine, providing a momentary reprieve from the tension. After he left, Dad leaned forward. We were wrong, he said quietly. Your mother and I, we were wrong about everything. Were you? I swirled the wine in my glass. Or are you only saying that because now I'm successful by your standards? Before they could answer, my phone buzzed. Sarah's name flashed on the screen. Excuse me, I need to take this, I said, stepping away from the table. Sarah, what's wrong? Not wrong, she sounded excited. The Morton Group just sent over their Asian market proposal. They want to triple the contract value. And Michael's company just laid off 30% of their staff. I processed this information, watching my parents whisper intensely at the table. Send me the details. I'll review them tonight. Returning to my seat, I found my parents in the middle of what appeared to be a heated discussion. Tell her, Mom was saying. She needs to know. Dad sighed heavily. Your brother. He's in trouble. The Morton Group contract wasn't just a normal deal for him. He'd already started implementing changes, hired new staff, leased new offices. All before securing the contract? I raised an eyebrow. That's incredibly irresponsible. He was certain he had it, Mom defended. He's facing bankruptcy, Ashley. The bank loans, the new house, the staff layoffs. He needs help. Of course. This wasn't about reconciliation. They wanted me to save Michael. Let me guess, I said coldly. You want me to give him a portion of the Morton contract? Or maybe hire his laid-off staff? He's your brother, Mom pleaded. Was he my brother when he mocked my business at every family gathering? When he told potential clients not to work with me? When he spread rumors in the industry about my company being unstable? They sat in shocked silence. Oh, you didn't know about that last part? I pulled out my tablet, showing them emails we'd intercepted. Michael actively tried to sabotage my business relationships. He told the Morton Group last year that my company was on the verge of bankruptcy. He wouldn't. Mom started. He did, I cut her off. Fortunately, Mr. Wilson believes in due diligence. He investigated both companies thoroughly before making his decision. Dad slumped in his chair. What can we do? Nothing, I replied simply. Michael made his choices. Now he can face the consequences. We're family, Mom tried again. Family. I laughed bitterly. Let me tell you about family. When I started my company, I worked 18-hour days, sleeping on an office couch because I couldn't afford both rent and payroll. Where was my family then? When I landed my first major client, I tried to share my excitement at Sunday dinner. You all talked over me to discuss Michael's new car. I pulled out my phone, showing them our company's latest press release. My little shop now employs over 200 people. We're revolutionizing supply chain management across 3 continents. Last year, our innovations helped reduce carbon emissions by 30% in 12 major corporations. But you never knew any of this because you never cared to ask. We're asking now, Dad said quietly. No, you're not asking. You're here because Michael failed and you need me to fix it. Just like always, this is about him. The waiter approached with menus, but I stood up. I'm not hungry. Dinner's on me. Consider it a consolation prize for backing the wrong child all these years. As I walked out, Mom called after me. Ashley, please. What should we tell Michael? I turned back one last time. Tell him to update his resume. I hear the job market is competitive these days. The next morning, I called an all-hands meeting at my office. My team gathered in our main conference room, curious about the urgent summons. As you've probably heard, our main competitor is going through some difficulties, I began. They'll be laying off many talented people. I want us to be ready. Sarah stepped forward with a presentation. We've identified key personnel from their technical and development teams. With our Asian expansion, we'll need additional staff anyway. Set up interviews, I nodded. But not with anyone from senior management. Michael would have to find his own way. As my team dispersed, I walked to the windows overlooking the city. 5 years of hard work, innovation, and perseverance had built this company. No one had given me anything. I'd earned every bit of success through dedication and vision. My phone buzzed with another text from Mom. Michael's at our house. He's desperate. Please help him. I blocked the number. An hour later, Sarah appeared in my office. Your brother's wife is here. Should I send her away? I thought for a moment. No. Send her in. Amanda looked different. Gone was the designer outfit and perfectly styled hair. She seemed smaller somehow, more human. Ashley, her voice cracked. I know we have no right to ask. You don't, I agreed. But Michael, he's not sleeping. The bank is foreclosing on our house. Our children. I held up my hand. Amanda, stop. I'm not giving Michael a job. I'm not sharing the Morton contract. His failure is his own responsibility. Then why let me in? I handed her a business card. This is the contact information for a good financial advisor. He specializes in bankruptcy protection and debt restructuring. That's all I'm offering. He stared at the card. That's it. That's more than Michael deserves, I replied. Consider it a courtesy to my nieces and nephews. After she left, I received an unexpected call from Mr. Wilson at Morton Group. Miss Carter, I hope you don't mind me saying, but we've been watching how you handled the situation with your brother's company. Very professional. No drama, no public gloating. Thank you, Mr. Wilson. It confirmed we made the right choice. In business and in life, character matters. We're increasing our investment in the Asian expansion. The new contracts will be on your desk tomorrow. That evening, as I worked late in my office, Sarah brought in a familiar-looking envelope. The invitation to next month's family reunion arrived. I took the envelope thinking about the last reunion where they'd all laughed at my little shop. How different things were now. Should I decline? Sarah asked. I smiled, remembering Michael's smug face, my parents' dismissal, all the years of doubt and mockery. No, I said, pulling out my laptop. Accept it. But first, let's send out a company-wide announcement. I think it's time for a corporate retreat. 5-star resort, all expenses paid, same weekend as the reunion. Every employee and their families invited. Sarah grinned. Even the new hires from Michael's company? Especially them. I started typing the announcement. Let's show everyone what a little shop can do when it's run with integrity and innovation.